Hello, and welcome to the Canadian Life. This week's episode is about why Canada is such a great place to live in. So if we're talking about why Canada is such a great place to live in, how do you come into the country? Let's talk about immigration and emigration. So first, what is a push factor? Well, this is any reason that you would like to leave a country that you are currently in. It could be as trivial as the weather or as serious as being in a bad environment. Right, and a pull factor is anything attracting you to another country. For example, education, political stability, economic opportunities, family, and more. Okay, so starting to talk about immigration, Canada has a very fair immigration policy. We are very accepting of diverse races. In fact, Canada accepts around 200,000 immigrants per year, and also 20.6% of Canadians are actually immigrants. Canada has around 34 ethnic groups, which also shows how diverse we are. As long as you can contribute to Canada, you can apply to be an independent worker. You can also apply to be a family member or a refugee. So there's a point scale from 0 to 100. 67 points are needed to apply for a skilled worker, and the selection factors include skills in English and French, education, work experience, age, valid job offer, and adaptability. 0 points are needed to apply for a family or a refugee status. So now that we've talked about immigration, let's talk about emigration. So most people who are emigrating, who are leaving the country, are going back to their old country. The next most popular place is the United States of America, just because of the proximity, that being how close it is. Now on to commercials. This is an advertisement about livability and sustainability. There are concepts that can help us be sustainable. The first is having a greener community, so we can plan buildings that use less energy than standard buildings, and they can also have solar panels, use wind turbines, and more. Next is urban agriculture to help meet the food demands based on a population increase. So for example, having roof gardens, city gardens, and more. This includes growing, cultivating, and distributing food around the city. So by providing fresh foods to locals, we are reducing the greenhouse gases, which is better for the environment. Another concept is urban sprawl versus compact patterns. So urban sprawl is having low residential density buildings on rural land, whereas compact is having medium to high density buildings built on existing land. Obviously, urban sprawl is something we should want to reduce. The next concept is introducing bike lanes, as this increases the safety for bikers. There's a goal to have 900 meters of bike lanes in the next 20 years. Next, we have the 20-minute neighborhood. So this is a community in which everything can be reached within 20 minutes of walking. The school, the stores, and more. And this is good because it would improve our ecological footprint. The next is the big move Southern Ontario. So this is planning to implement more transportation systems, therefore having less CO2 emissions, being better for our environment. And finally, it is important to acknowledge our ecological footprint, the measure of human demands on Earth's resources. We should be doing more to help our environment. And we are back from the commercial break. Next, let's talk about resources and what Canada has to offer. We will be talking about forestry, farming, fishing, energy, mining, and water. Okay, so first we are going to be talking about forestry. So this employs about 600,000 people and adds $20 billion to our GDP. That's a lot of money in our economy. And Canada was ranked #1 for forest product trade balance. And this is due to our soft product wood manufacturing, paper and pulp mills, and lumber. Now on to farming. So yes, there can be problems such as erosion or contamination in our soil. However, 13.2% of our land is still farmable, with 5% of our land being Class 1 farmland. $103.5 billion are brought to our GDP because of farming. And by a study taken in 2012, we can see how 2.1 million people are employed because of farming. Next is fishing. Fishing is very important as there is a lot of water surrounding us. Although there are problems such as overfishing or foreign fishing, it is still important as it directly employs 80,000 people. Canada ranks 7th for seafood exports, bringing in $4.9 billion, again, a lot of money. And the second most exported item in Canada is fish, in the west being cod and in the east being salmon. Also, sport fishing is a big industry as again it brings in a lot of money. Let's talk about energy. I have a lot of energy, but by this energy I mean conventional and alternative. I will be talking about the pros and cons for each. Under conventional we have hydro, coal, nuclear, and natural gas. The cons of hydro is that it can impact fish and water quality. However, the positive is that there are little CO2 emissions. With coal, there's a lot of CO2 emissions, so it's very bad for the environment. However, it is affordable and it is easy to burn. We can see that we are moving away from using coal. For example, Stanford has created a policy not to invest in coal mining companies as it is just so bad for the environment. Next is nuclear. So the cons are that, yes, it may be expensive and it is dangerous if the plant breaks down. However, the positive is that it is very powerful and it is easy to run. And finally, we have natural gas. So the negative is that it can create greenhouse gas emissions and fracking can potentially be very dangerous. However, the positive is that it is efficient and there are lots of it. Moving on to alternative, there is solar, wind, geothermal, tidal, and bioenergy. A con of solar energy is that it does not always work under the snow. However, a positive is that it is very clean and can create lots of jobs. The cons of wind turbines is that it does need wind to function, so if there's no wind, well, we're out of luck. However, also, it can kill birds and it can be very loud, so people nearby might not always enjoy it. The positive is, once it's built, it is inexpensive to run and is clean energy. With geothermal energy, a con is that some people complain that it can be an eyesore as they are often built next to natural parks. However, a positive is that it has a low operational cost. Tidal energy can potentially harm marine life. However, the major plus is that some of the highest tides in the world are at Bay of Fundy. So, tidal energy is very efficient here at Canada. And next we have bioenergy. So, a con is that it has low energy density. However, the positive is that it can create jobs. Next is mining. Canada is one of the world's largest mining nations. Nickel, gold, zinc, and diamonds are some of the biggest moneymakers. These minerals contribute around $54 billion to the GDP and add 380,000 jobs. Also, the coal production value is around $4.6 billion, and mining is one of the biggest revenue generating industries in all of Canada. Finally, in resources, we are going to be talking about water. So we have an abundance of water as we are surrounded by it. We have the oceans and we have the Great Lakes. 52% of our water is used for residential purposes. 19% is used for commercial purposes, 16% for industrial, and unfortunately, we do lose 13% to leakage. It's so good that we have so much water because we can sell our water to other countries in exchange for money, therefore adding more to our economy, benefiting us. Also, with such a large supply of fresh water, why wouldn't Canada be such a great place to live in? Alright, I'm gonna go water skiing. See you later! Next, I would like to talk about the industries and employment in Canada. First, I would like to introduce Miss Business. Thank you! I would just like to start off by saying that US News has actually ranked Canada 3rd in the world for open business and 5th for entrepreneurship. I was wondering if you would be able to talk to us about the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary industries of Canada. Yeah, for sure. So the primary industry is providing raw natural materials for conversion into products and commodities. So this includes mining, agriculture, forestry, and more. And 2% of the workforce in Canada is in this industry. So the secondary industry is converting these raw materials provided by the primary industry into products for consumers. So this includes manufacturing, construction, and more. 18% of the people in the Canadian workforce are in this industry. So next is the tertiary industry. This is the segment of the economy that focuses on providing services to its consumers. So this includes financial institutions, schools, and restaurants. For example, I'm providing a service now, and as you can tell, I'm the best at providing services as I'm educating you very well, so you can see I'm the best in the tertiary industry. Finally is the quaternary sector. So this is the sector that involves the intellectual services. For example, biotechnology research, information technology, and more. And with the tertiary and quaternary sectors combined, 70 to 80% of the workforce in Canada are in these sectors. Thanks for that insightful information. Now, would you be able to touch upon the unemployment rates of Canada? The unemployment rate in Canada right now is about 6.9%, with a monthly drop rate of 0.2%, which means we are getting better. To all the viewers out there, are you amazed yet? Oh wow, that's amazing. Finally, let's talk about the industries as a whole and the business cycle. So the business cycle, there is the growth and expansion, and then there's the peak, followed by the recession and trough, and then it goes into growth and expansion again. So this is good because we can see how even though there might be some downs, the economy can and will still grow. To conclude, Canada has been ranked second overall, with considerations such as quality of life, citizenship, and more. This is from the best countries list put out by US News. I hope you have learned why Canada is such a great place to live in. Thank you.